Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be creating this monthly and annual expense tracker. Several months ago, I created an expense tracker and I promised to create a dashboard, but I never got around to doing. So this is going to be a continuation of that video, but with an upgrade. What that means is that I upgraded the monthly expense tracker area, and then I created the annual dashboard that goes with it. So here is what that looks like. This is the area that you will add all your expenses, so you can add as many expenses as you need to. We have summary charts and tables to summarize everything entered into this tab for this month. And here is the annual summary tab. The first table summarizes the expenses by category. So we have the total amounts here, the percentage breakdown. And over here, we have the expenses for January through December. And then these tables are for subcategories. Same thing. You can see the total amounts spent for that subcategory for the entire year, the percent breakdown, and then here are the monthly amounts from January through December. Down here, we have the summary chart. So the breakdown of the different expenses based on category, and the chart that represents the trend from January through December for category, the breakdown, and the trend charts from January through December. What's nice about this template is you can easily add another tab. So we have January and February. For March, all I need to do is to duplicate this chart, change the name to March, and then update the contents of the tab for March. So change the dates and add the additional items that need to be added for the month. And then when we go over here, now you can see the graph for March shows up. And if we go here, you can see entries for March. Of course, they're identical to February because we didn't change any of the amounts, but you can see that the amounts automatically show up. Essentially, all you need is a blank tab, and then you can just duplicate that tab over and over again when the next month rolls around. All right, so we'll start with the setup tab, add a new sheet. And what I like to do with a new sheet is I clean it up, meaning I add the fonts I like to use and change the alignment. All right, and then I remove the excess rows and columns. If we go to the original setup tab, it goes from A to G, 1 to 23. So I'm going to remove the excess columns and rows that we don't need. So remove everything from H all the way down, select 24 all the way down to 1000, delete. Select this entire range, right click, resize it to 30. Select column A and G, right click, resize it to 30 as well. Next, we're going to add our expense category and subcategory tables. Before we add the tables, let's resize the columns. Select column B and column E, right click, make those 30. Column C, this is where the actual category name and subcategory name is going to go, so we need it to be wider. So C and F, right click, hit 200. So this section here is going to be the area for our category, so add a border around it. And this is the header area, so select that, add a border around it as well, and merge. Select the entire range, use the paint format, paste it here. So now we have our two tables. This is the space between the two tables, so resize this as well to 30. So this is going to be categories and subcategories. Let's do some more table formatting. Select the table area for both of them. Go back to borders. We're going to add some horizontal borders. This one right here. I do want to change the style, so I'll change the color to the gray color and change the line style to this dotted line. So it looks like this. It's hard to see it now because we still have the grid line, but once we remove it, you should be able to see it. All right, and then here you can add numbering. Add 1, select both of them and drag it all the way down to the last one. And in the last one, type 20. If I drag it all the way down, I will lose the border, which is why I add the number here manually. Now we can just copy this and paste it here. Next, we're going to go ahead and add colors. So everyone's taste and style is different, so go ahead and use whatever colors you want. However, what I like to do is use the colors from the custom color area. What that allows me to do is if I need to change a specific color later on or make a different color variant of the same template, I am able to do this automatically. I do have a separate video that walks you through that process, so I'll link that below if you want to go ahead and check it out. I'm going to apply colors from this custom area. Go ahead and apply whatever colors you want to your template. All right, so now we can remove the grid line. Go to View, Show, Grid Line, and here's what it looks like. So now we can go ahead and add our different categories, expense categories here and subcategories here. Of course, I am going to be reusing the ones that I have here, so I'm going to copy and paste this into our template. I want these two columns left justified, so I'll select them together at the same time. Click here, left justified, so it looks like this. And that's it for the setup tab. Next, we're going to work on the monthly tab structure. Now, just as a reminder, you only have to do it one time. So for the subsequent months, all you need to do is duplicate the one that you have created. We'll start by opening up a new blank sheet. I'm going to select everything and just clean it up, meaning I add the font that I like to use and change the alignments. And then going back here for a second, I need to remove the excess rows and columns. So I remove everything after O and everything after 65. Now, if you need to add more because you're going to add a lot of transactions, go ahead and add more rows. Okay, so select the entire range, all the rows at once, right click, resize it to 30. Select the first column and the last one, resize those to 30. All right, so now going back here, we'll skip the charts for now and start working on the table. This first table is going to go from column B to H, starting from row 12. over here. So this is going to be the header area. So let's just add borders around them. And then all the way down to 64, add a border around it. We're going to need to add some internal borders. So while we're here, click on horizontal borders. I'll change the color to the lighter gray and change the style. Now it's harder to see, but that's because we still have the grid lines on when we take it off. You should be able to see it without a problem. Okay, so now we're going to need to resize the columns. So the first one is going to be date column, so it doesn't need to be that wide. The next one is transactions, and then we have the amounts that go here, right? And then these three category, subcategory, and this is payment type. And then we have notes. I'm going to copy these headers. So you can go ahead and pause the video and use the same headers, or at least something similar that makes sense for you. So paste them here. All right, so now that I have these headers, I can adjust them accordingly. So I'll leave this as a default size. For the item name, I'm going to resize this to 250. Right, so the amount is also fine. The next three columns, make those 150. And for the notes, we can make this 250 as well. Let's continue with the format. And this is going to be a date column. So we're going to have to format it as such. So select that range. First thing we're going to do is add the date picker option. To do this, click on data validation, add rule, change the criteria to is valid dates, reject the input, check the box, click done. All right, so now we double check, we can click a date. I like to take it a step further by selecting the entire range. One more time, go to format, number, go to custom date and time, change it to the format that I want. Select this one right here. If you want to change it some more, you can adjust it here to whatever preferences you have. So do that, click apply. So this is done. So now anytime I add a date, it's in the exact same format and everything is consistent. We don't need to do anything here because this is a text format. We're going to type in whatever name of transaction is. This column is for the amount, so we need to format it as well. To do this, select the entire range. Now this is going to be a currency format. So go to formats, number, and here are some currency formats that we can choose from. If you're using a different currency format and yours doesn't show up here, go to custom currency, type your country, and you should be able to pull up your currency. So for this, I'll select this currency style. If I type in an amount here, you can see that it shows up in this currency format. The next is a category column. We're going to add drop downs from our setup tab. To do this, select, add row. So I only selected a few of them, and that's because I can remove the row number here and it selects everything all the way down. Change it from drop down to drop down from range. Click this icon to select the categories from the setup tab. So here are our categories. Select that, click OK. And then if you want to, you can change the style. I'm going to leave it as chip for now and click done. So back here, here's what it looks like. We can delete this extra one down here. And we're going to do the same thing for category. Select row, remove the row number, drop down from range, select the range from our setup tab, subcategories, like so, click done. And if you want to, you can go back here and change the color. So if you wanted to assign different colors to different categories or subcategories to organize your table, you can do so. To do this, just go back, select the edit button, and then you can assign the colors you want from here, or you can click customize and you have more color options to add here. The next is the payment type. And for this, I'm going to use the regular drop down, but if you wanted to do drop down from range, all you need to do is add a column in your setup tab for the different payment options. So over here, I'm going to add debit or credit card. So I have three options: credit card 1, credit card 2, and checking account. So this part is done. And the last is the notes section. We don't need to do any additional formatting to this column. Back here, we're going to work on this area. The first table is a sum of all the expenses organized into different categories. So we'll add these two tables next. Here is going to be a spacer column. So resize this to 30. The table is going to go here, these two columns. So I'm going to add some borders around them. So add a border for the header, and this is going to be the table area. Add some outer borders and then do internal borders as well. Horizontal borders, I'm going to change the color to the gray color and change the style. This is where the category is going to go. So we can make this bigger. Let's make this 200. This is going to be category and this is going to be total. This is going to be another spacer column. Right click and resize this to 30. The next one is for the subcategory. It's going to be the exact same style. So copy the table, paste it right here. Resize this to 200. Change the header here to subcategory. All right. So the general structure is done. We can start adding in some color just to bring the template to life. I already mentioned I will be using colors from my custom color area. And again, if you missed that, I will leave a link in the description box where you can check out the short video where I talk about why and how I use the custom color to apply colors to my template. All right, so here is what it looks like after adding some colors. I'll delete this because we're going to add in some realistic placeholder information next. Now, if you already have your expenses, go ahead and just start adding that information here. But if you want to create a template using placeholder information and then later on adding your real numbers, you can go ahead and do so as well. Whatever is easiest for you. I will be reusing the information from here. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it into my template. So go ahead and use something similar, or like I said before, if you have your real data, go ahead and add it into your template now. This table is pretty self-explanatory, but let me just walk through how things would work. So when you have a new expenses document, you go ahead and double click this, add the date, type the amount. All right, select the category that it falls under. So let's say employee expenses, and let's say stylist meals. I'm going to drag this down here because it's missing. All right. And then if we use our credit card, you can go ahead and document credit card. And if you want to add some notes, you can add some notes here. So pretty straightforward. This area is going to be automated. That means that it's going to pull in the information that you have entered into the table. So the only place you're going to be entering data in this entire template is this area, this table right here. Everything else is automated. So over here, this is going to organize all the information we've entered here into the categories. So it's going to add up all the expenses. So every time you have an expense, you can just enter it here. So if you have an expense for Stylist Meals today, and then tomorrow you have another expense, you can just add one every single time. And here it's going to add it all together for you. So of course we need to add in some formulas. So let's take a look at the formulas we need here. So for our first table, the formulas are actually in the header area because we're using the query formula. Query formula is pretty powerful. It's able to do all sorts of things in one formula. It can filter, it can sort, and it can add a label. So looking at the formula here, the two ranges we have, this first one is the range for the category, and the second one is the amount. Okay. And like I said before, try to use the same ranges that I'm using so that the formulas work automatically. Okay. So we have the ranges here. These are the ranges for our category and amount. Right here it says select column 1 and it's going to sum column 2. So column 2 is where we have our amount. The last one here is the label. So if you want to change the label, so you don't want us to say category, go ahead and change it, right? So this is the first label with a category. And then for column 2, it says total here. You can change it here. Just make sure you change it inside the quotation mark right here. Okay. So if I wanted to say something else like category 1, just to say something different, category 1. Now, if I look over here, it says category 1. Okay. So just change it back. All right. So we're going to copy this formula. Again, keep in mind the ranges to make sure that you are using the same range that I'm using, or if you're not, make sure that your ranges match the ones here. Okay. So over here is where we're going to paste the formula. So I have category and total here. I don't need those because I already have the headers embedded in the formula. So we can delete that, paste it here, and hit enter and see if it works. Okay, so we have some things filtered here. And if we double click and go over here, you can see now it is highlighting the same ranges over here because this template we're creating is exactly the same as the example. If it weren't, we'll have to adjust these ranges. Okay, now we'll do the exact same thing, but for subcategories. And what's nice is that we can just reuse the same formula. So now that we have it here, we can copy it, delete these headers, paste it here. And what we're going to need to change is to change it from category to subcategory. So category is in column E, but now we want to filter subcategories. So now we're going to change E to F. So change it from E to F. Okay. And then for the label, we're also going to change it to subcategory. The next thing we'll need to work on is the chart area. We'll start with these two charts. The first one is the breakdown of the category. The next one is the breakdown of the subcategory. All right. So over here, chart's going to go up here. So this is the first section for the charts. Let's add our borders. All right. And then this is the second chart. We might need to make this wider so that the chart looks better. So I'll increase J and M, those two columns, resize them together. Let's do 250. Okay, so our chart's going to go here. So we can add some headers, merge, do the same here, merge, add a border. This is category breakdown and this is subcategory breakdown. And the chart's going to go here so we can merge this area and add whatever color you want. So I added my colors here from my color palette. Okay, and we're going to add in our chart to show the breakdown of categories and subcategory. To do this, we're going to select the entire range all the way down. And now that this is selected, go up here, click on insert chart, and it does automatically select the pie chart, which is fine. We can remove the header. We don't need that, and move it into the space. But before we do that, let's customize it even further. Remove the background. We already have a background and a border, so we don't need that. The other thing we want to change is the legend style. So this legend style is fine if we have a very wide space, but our space here is not very wide. Let me show you what I mean. So if I were to readjust this and place it here, it works, but part of it starts getting cut off. To circumvent this, you can make this wider and expand this, and then it shows up better. Or you can use a different legend style, which is double click. All right, and just click here. It takes you straight to legend, and we can change it to left. All right, so this is what it looks like. And this looks a little bit better. So we have our category breakdown, and then do the same thing for subcategories. So the entire range, insert charts, readjust it how we did before. All right, so this part is done. Next, we're going to add the chart that goes here. This is going to be the outline for the charts. And let's take a look at what that looks like. This is the header area. This is describing the charts. And this is the total amount of spending for the month of January. So we can actually bold this to make it stand out better. Let's do the same here. So this is going to be our first row. Select it, add a border. This is going to be the month. You can make it more automatic by going to data validation and just adding a valid date there. So change it from drop down to its valid dates. Check the box, reject the input, click done. So now you can just select the date of January and it shows up like this, but we want it to show up as the month of January. So go to format, number, custom date and time. So I have August here showing up, which is what I need. If you don't have it showing up like this, just select anything that has a month like so, and then remove the year and hit apply. So now we have January. Again, this is not necessary. You could just type the month, but because we're going to be reusing this tab every month, it's nice to have the option to duplicate the charts, double click and select the correct month. All right, so this is going to be the header area, merge that, and then this is going to be where the total amount would go. Okay, so here we have daily spending trend, and here's the spending total. Select this and make it bold so it stands out, and go ahead and add your colors that you want to add to your template. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is to add the spending total, and that's a sum of column D. So it's pretty straightforward, equals sum the range in column D, and select the range all the way down like so, hit enter, and we have our sum 12,400. Our chart's going to go here, so select it and merge. All right, so now what we want represented here is the date and the amount. All right, so that's what we need to show up here. To do this, select the date all the way down and hold down the control or command key. For the Mac is command, and I believe Windows it should be control, so you can select two ranges at the same time. So we have date range and the amount range selected. Now we can go and click insert chart. So it is inserting the scatter chart, which is fine. You can actually use this, but I do want to use the area chart instead. So I'm going to change it to this one, this first chart here. And here's what it looks like. So I'm going to start making some adjustments, starting by removing the things that I don't need. So this header area, the amount, and the dates. Next, I remove the background color and the border color, pull it into the space here. So it looks like this. You can make further adjustments if you want. So if we double click, you can go here, change the format by adding point size, and that's going to add this little dot. So you see point shape. So if I add 7, it's going to add the circle dots here, and I can change it to a triangle, star, diamond, whatever shape I want. And then for the chart, this place that says opacity, I can change it. So let me do 20. And when I click here, you see that the color here is lighter. So the other thing I was going to mention is that because we have everything organized in a table, it would be nice to be able to filter or sort this table. So let's add the filter option next. Select the entire table and then go up here right next to the insert chart. You have this filter icon, click on it, and it's going to add this little upside down triangles to each column. And this would allow you to filter or sort based on column. So if you wanted to, for example, sort by dates, so maybe the items you added are not ordered by dates and your chart looks a little bit strange, you can go ahead and use the sort option, sort by date, so that it shows up here correctly. All right, so this is done. The final step would be to remove the grid line so we can see exactly what it looks like. So it looks good. And remember, if you have a lot more expenses, just go ahead and add more rows. Just make sure that when you add rows, add it in the middle so that whatever formula we're using captures the additional rows automatically. Back to our checklist, we've done the structure, the formulas, the charts and graphs. Next, we'll work on creating the structure for the annual tab. Start with a new sheet. I'm going to clean it up like I normally do. I'm going to remove the excess rows and columns. So everything after R and everything after 59, I'm going to remove that right here. Select everything, delete row 60. Select everything, delete. Select the entire range, right click, resize that to 30. Select the first column and the last column, right click, resize to 30. Now we have a clean canvas to start working on. Let's go back here. We'll skip this part for now and create a table. The first table represents the breakdown of categories, so the total amount and the percentage, and this is for the entire year, right? Because this is the annual summary tab. And then here we have the breakdown month per month, so you can look at a glance to see what your expenses are for each single month, and this is going to be pulled from the monthly tabs we have here. So starting with this one, it's going to go from row 7 to 29, column B to column D. So 7 to 29, B to D. Add a border around it, an outer border, and this is going to be a header area merge. Add a border around it as well. Add the second table next to it for the monthly columns. Put a border around it, merge the header, and put an outline around the header as well. And now we're going to need to resize some of the columns. So back here, we need to increase the width of these two columns and change this to a spacer column. So first do this, make this 30 and select these two and let's increase them to 125 each. This is going to be our expense category. Here's for our column label. So add a border around that as well. Here would be January to December. Okay, so add a border around that. And we're going to make this bigger as okay. And then the category name is going to go here. I'll adjust this to 200 and adjust these to 100. If you need more space, go ahead and make them wider, but this should be okay for now. Okay, I added the column labels, category name, total amount, and a percentage. And here's going to be January through December. So I'll type in the first month, January, and just select that cell, hover around it until you see the cross icon, and just drag it to the end. So now I have January through December. I'm just going to select this and adjust the borders again. Then I'll add some internal borders in this area. I'm going to be using the same internal borders. Back here to borders, select horizontal borders. And I like to use the dotted line or the dashed line. Of course, it's hard to see, but once we're done with the structure, we'll remove the grid lines and you should be able to see it better. Next, we're going to add the colors in this area. I'm going to be using colors from my color palettes, but go ahead and add whatever colors you want. All right, so the first formula we're going to add is the one to filter the list of categories. So if I double click here, it's a filter formula. We're pulling in the list of categories from the setup tab. So let's copy it. That's this list right here. Setup tab, C3 all the way down. So back here, paste it here, C3 to C22, hit enter. And here is our category. And for the total amount and the percentage, we're actually going to get those numbers from here. We're going to add up the numbers here to calculate the total amount, and the percentage will be calculated from the numbers here. So we'll skip this for now. We'll come back to it when we have the formulas entered in for the monthly columns. So here's what that formula looks like. And I'm going to explain how it works. The first part of the formula, B9, is referencing the category name. And it's saying if this category name is empty, it should be blank. And this is going to be helpful when we're down here. So right here, we don't have a category name. And if we don't have this condition, it would spit out an error here. So to keep it clean, if B9 is blank, it's going to output something blank. Then we have an if error. And again, this is to help us with additional errors that might show up if something is missing. So that's all this is. The next part of the formula is a sum if, because we want to add up the total amount for a facility for January. The indirect is going to allow us reference January tab. It's going to look at this cell, and this cell says January. This is going to allow the formula to go to the January tab. So because F8 has the name January, it's going to reference the January tab. And in the January tab, going to look for this range, E13 to E64. So we go over to the January tab and look for E13 to E64. All right, it has a category name. It's going to look through this range, E13 to E64, which has a category name, and is going to match it with B9, all right? And then it's going to do the same thing again and look for the amounts. So remember, this is a sum if, and it's telling the formula to add up the amounts in D13 when the category name in B9 matches what is here, all right? D13 has the amount. So if we go back here, D13, all the way down, of course, till the end of the range has the amount. So it's going to look for the name of the category in E, column E, and when it finds that, it's going to sum the amounts every single time it finds that category. So for example, if it finds employee expenses, it's going to say, okay, I found employee expenses, that's 300. Look through, find employee expenses one more time. Now it's going to be 5,000 plus 300, and finds it one more time, and it adds the additional amount, etc. So that's what the formula is doing. And the indirect is what makes it possible for us to reference the month. So it doesn't matter what name you use here, as long as the name here matches the name of the tab. It has to be an exact match. All right, so if this matches this, it's able to go into that tab and pull the information it needs. So now let's copy this. Let's paste it here. All right, as you can see, it's referencing January, which is supposed to do. It's referencing the name here, the category name, which is good. And everything else should be correct. So hit enter. So we have 900 for facilities. Let's double check that. So if we go here, we have facilities has 100. Facilities, again, we have facilities here. So this should be 550 plus 100, 650. 650 plus 250 is 900. So the formula works the way it's supposed to. So now all we need to do is just select this and drag it down. If you double click, now it's referencing B10. So it's going to do the exact same thing that it did for facilities. Go into January tab, look for supplies, and then sum the amounts next to supplies in that range. So just drag it all the way down till the end. And then you can see that even though this is blank, you can see the formulas are still here, referencing the correct range. And we don't have any error messages because we have the if condition and the if error. All right. Now we'll do the same thing for February. Select the formula, paste it in February. We need to make changes. Now, instead of F8, which is where January is, we need to change it to the location for February. Because if we hit enter, now it's going to just copy the information from the January tab, which is not what we want. So double click, change it from F8 to G8, because that's where February is located. G8 here and G8 here. So now you can see February is highlighted. You can hit enter. And you can see now the amount for facilities changes, because if we go to February, we have a different amount for facilities. So here we have 1,300 plus 1,000 plus 1,100 and plus 250. And that should be the sum of the amount that shows up here. Select it, drag it all the way down to the end of the range right here. Repeat the same steps. Select the formula, paste it here, change it from G8 to H8 here and here. Hit enter. And now we have the amount for March. The amount in March is identical to February because I copied the tab for February to March. So I'm going to change a few things here. Now, when we go here, you can see the amount for March is different. So what is nice about this is that you don't have to have the tabs present for the formula to work. So what do I mean by that? So let's copy this formula one more time, paste it here. So we don't have a tab for April, but that's fine. So if we change the location from H to I for April, change it here as well. And now when we double click, it's referencing April, but we don't have a tab for April. But because we have these conditions, it's not going to throw an error. It just leaves it blank. And if we decide to add the April tab, which we'll do right now, since we have this extra tab that says January 2, let's change that to April. So we already have the April name here. So we just need to make sure that this matches the tab. So let's go here, change this to April. Now, again, if you are using this tab, you would just copy any of this month and change the name of the tab. But because we have this extra tab, we'll change this to April. Just make sure the name here, the spelling has to be an exact match. Hit enter. Now, when we go here, we have an entry for April, and it's the exact same one as January because the January 2 tab was a replica of January tab. So you can go ahead and fill out the rest of the table with the formula. And then as you go along, every single month, you can add a new tab. As long as the name here matches the name of the tab, it would automatically feed the new information into this tab. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out the rest of the tab. We'll just copy the formula to the rest of the months, just making sure you change the location. So for May, it would be J, change it here as well. Hit enter. And once we add a tab for May, it should automatically populate. So don't forget to copy the formula all the way down so it works for the rest of the categories. And then just repeat the same steps for May, June, July, August, all the way down to the last month. All right, so now that's done. We can go ahead and add the total amount. And this is going to be a very simple sum formula, equals sum. And this is going to be the range. So select row 9 all the way down till the end, December. So for January through December. And then click enter. For the rest of them, all we need to do is to just drag it down. And then if we double click, you can see it is selecting the corresponding row, the correct row for this category. When I create tables, I don't like to have things that shouldn't be there. So this is blank and we have zeros here. I don't really like it to show up because I want the table to be as clean as possible. So if we go to the example, you can see that I have no zeros. And that's because I added if conditions to the sum formula. You can see this is the sum part of the formula, but I added this if condition. And this is saying if B9 is blank, so right here where we don't have any category, okay, if we add new categories in the future, this would be occupied. But if you're just starting out with a few categories and this is blank, you don't want this to be showing zeros on your table because it makes it a little bit messier. So we're going to use this version of the formula that has this blank condition for the category name. So let's paste it here. Again, it's the same sum formula. It's not necessary to use. I just like to use it because I prefer the tables to look a lot cleaner. So now that we've used that formula, everything else is the same. You can see it's still adding up the right range, but now it's taking the presence of a value in the category name column into consideration. The same thing for the percentage. The percentage formula is a simple percent formula. I would take this amount divided by the sum of this, but I have this condition formula as well because I don't want this to have zeros when there's nothing here. So it's the exact same formula. We're just copying it, paste it here. Again, C9, okay, right here, divided by the sum of the entire range. One thing I did here was to add the $sign to lock the range. And this is going to allow us to copy the formula down because without the $signs locking it, if we copy the formula down, it's going to readjust and make the calculation for the percentage incorrect. Okay, so now we have the correct percentage. We have the formula locked like this. Now we can just drag it all the way down and we have our percentages and this is blank. So we have a clean table. If we double click, everything should be correct. It's referencing this cell, dividing it by the sum of the range. And then just because we copied it all the way down, we lost our border. So we just add it back. So for the subcategories, it's exactly the same. The only difference between the categories and the subcategories, so you can see, is the location. So if we go here, it's the exact same formula. The difference here is that we're referencing the subcategory column instead of the category column. So if we go to January, F13 to F64 is where we have the subcategory. So back here, now, since we're looking for the sum of the subcategory information, we need to reference column F. And we'll keep D the same because that's where the amount is. So back here, it's the exact same process. F for the subcategory and D13 to D64 for the sum of the amount. So that's the exact same thing. So we'll go here and copy this table. And what we're doing first is just copying the structure so we don't have to recreate the exact same structure. So we're going to right click, paste, format only. All right. So we have the same structure, and then you can change the color to whatever you want if you're using different color for subcategory, and then add the titles. The column headers are going to be the same, so we can just copy them and paste it here. Over here, instead of category, we'll change this to subcategory. And then here would be expense subcategory. Copy this, paste it here as well. All right. So the first thing is to pull the names of the subcategory. Again, just like we did for the category, it's the steps are exactly the same. The only difference is what we're referencing. So now we're going to the setup tab to pull the unique list of names for the subcategory. So if we go to this setup tab, you can see that the subcategory names are in column F. So go here, paste the formula. We have our list of subcategories. Skip these 2 columns for now. And we'll place our first formula here for January. Here's the formula. All right, the exact same formula. The only difference is when it looks into the January tab, it's looking in the subcategory to match it with B33, which is the name of the subcategory. So copy this, paste it here, make sure everything looks right. It's referencing the right subcategory name cell, the month name cell, everything looks good. Hit enter. We have 2000. And if we go to January to double check, we have rent for 2000. We don't have any other rent here. Let's change this to rent as well. So the total now should be 2,300. If we go here, the rent is 2,300. So the formula works. So now we do the same thing, drag it all the way down. By the way, if you want to avoid it cutting off the border, one way to do it would be to just copy the formula like so and select the entire range, right click, paste formula only right here. And once you do this, it's not going to copy the format from this area right here. And it looks like this. All right. And then we'll repeat the same steps for February. The same formula, paste it here, change it from F to G. Okay. Change it here as well. Click enter. We have the amount for February, copy it all the way down, right click, formula only, and we have the amounts for February. And then just repeat the same steps like we did before for March all the way through December. And then when we're here, it's the exact same formula. The only difference between this formula and this formula is the range. So if we copy the formula from here and paste it directly here, we don't need to change anything because if we double click, you can see that it's adapting to this new location. So it's selecting the subcategory name here and selecting the range here. So we can just copy this formula all the way down, paste it here, formula only, and it does the same thing. For the percentage, we do have to change it though. So we can use the same formula, right? But we have to make some adjustments. So if we just copy the whole cell and paste the whole cell here and we double click, part of the formula is correct. But because we locked the formula with $signs, it's going to reference the range in the category section. We need to change that. So instead of the range in the category section, we're going to reference this range, which is C33 all the way to C53. So change it from C9 to C33, change it from 29 to 53 and hit enter. And double click, the formula looks right. We can copy this, select the entire range, paste formula only, and the right formula shows up here. So far, so good. If you want to include a sum here, you can do so as well. It's just the sum of this range, the simple sum formula. All right. Now let's move on to our chart. The first row is going to be a spacer row, then a row for the header. We're going to expand this row for the chart and do another spacer, and then do the same thing again down here. So over here, this is the spacer row. We don't need to do anything. Here is the one for the charts. We're going to expand 56 and 58 together. Right click, resize 300. Let's add some outlines. I start with outline here. This is the header outline. Merge this. This is where the chart's going to go. And we can copy this and paste it here. We're missing a row. So let's add a row above 57 and then just copy row 54, paste it here to get rid of the unnecessary grid lines. So we have the first chart area and the second chart area. Over here, this is going to be for the expense breakdown. This is going to represent a breakdown here. So the same percentages here, but in a chart form. And the same for the expense subcategories is going to be the breakdown of the amount here in a chart form. All right, so go ahead and add whatever colors you want. I'll add colors from my color palette. All right, and now we'll add the charts. For the first chart, select this range, category name, total amount, all the way down, insert charts, and it automatically selects a pie chart, which works. So the only thing we have to do is just clean it up, remove this header, go to customize, remove the background color and the border, drag it down over here. You see we have a border and a background color, so we don't need the ones provided automatically from the charts, and then put it here. If this area is not wide enough, the names will be cut off. So you don't want to use this legend style. You can double click, the legend area opens up, change the position to left so it looks like this. So this is another way to make sure that it shows up correctly, and you can adjust this if you want. So if you double click, you can adjust this slightly so the names show up like this, and then repeat the same steps for the subcategory. Here's the area, select this range, insert charts, remove what you don't need, change the colors of the background and the chart border, resize it into the spot so it fits well. Double click to change the legend to left. Just make this slightly smaller so we're able to see the subcategory names better. All right. So back here, this is going to represent the information here. So essentially this dashboard is showing you the information in two ways. If you would like to see the information in table format, this is for you. If you're a visual person or you want to see trends and things broken down like this part is for you. So let's create this area next. So it's going to be over here, create the outline. This is the header area. So merge that, add border around it, merge this area as well, copy this, paste it here, and then add the colors you want to add. Okay, so to add the chart here, we're going to need to select this entire range, okay, because we want to see the amounts for January through December. We also want the category name, so we're going to select this as well. So we have our ranges selected. Now we can click on Insert Chart. Here's what the chart looks like. We need to make a few changes. First is I'm going to change the chart type to area, and you can use the line chart if you want, but I'm going to use the area chart. I want the x-axis right here to have January through December, not the names of the categories. So to do this, scroll all the way down in the setup area, click on switch rows/columns. So now we have our January to December showing up here and the names of the categories here. Now we can go here and change the chart style. So remove the background and the border color. To move it all the way down, resize it so it fits in this space. So it looks like this. And then you can make additional changes if you want. So for example, instead of having it sharp like this, you can make it smooth. Okay. And you can go down to series if you want it to have these little points at every month. So over here, you can see we have these different points. You can go here and in customize under series, here's where you're going to change the point size. Now it says none. If we change it to 2, you can see the points, or something bigger like 7, so it's easier to see. And of course, May to December is blank because we don't have anything in the table for those months. So you do the same for subcategory. Select the subcategory column. Next, select the monthly table area. Click on Insert Chart. Change the area. Down here, switch rows and columns. So it looks like this. Remove the background color and the border. Down here in series, we're going to change the point size to 7. Move the chart down here. And here's what it looks like. And of course, we only have amounts for January, February, because March through December is blank. Don't forget to add your label. So this would be expense categories and this would be expense subcategories. So go ahead and add those. All right, so we're almost done. The last part is the summary area here. We'll add the outline and the formulas to calculate the total spending and the monthly average. And then we'll add this little mini chart here that also visually represents the sum of the values here. All right, so start with this chart here. Here's where that's gonna go. Add our outer border, add an inner border here, okay? And add this outline over here. Okay, so we have our 2 outlines done. You can add whatever colors you want. This area is going to be merged because the number is going to be displayed here, so merge that. And since this is going to have a chart, we're going to just merge the entire area. Okay, so the first one is going to be total spending and the monthly average. Okay, so total spending and monthly average. Over here, let's take a look at the formulas. So this is going to be the sum of the total amount here. And this is the monthly average. So we're going to need to take the average in this range here. First, let's create the sum values here. Equals sum. Select this range here. Hit enter. And now we're going to just copy this, select the entire range, right click, paste formula. All right, so we have the range here. Now we can calculate the total spending, which is equals sum. And that's this amount here. And then for the average formula, we want to make sure that it's not picking up any blanks or anything that's 0. That's why we're using average if. We don't want it adding 0 when that's really not the expense for that month. Paste the formula here and just select the entire range. Make sure it is formatted as currency and increase the size of the font, make it bold. And here's what it looks like. The last thing we have to do is add this mini chart here if you want that, visual representation of the monthly totals. And to do this, we're going to first select January through December, hit Command or Control, and then select the amounts for January through December. Click Insert Charts. And we're going to have to do the same thing, which is switch rows and columns. Make sure you select use row 8 as labels because we want January to December to show up here in the x-axis. So click on that. The next thing you want to do is change it from combine ranges horizontally to vertically. So now you can see January through December shows up here and click aggregate. Then we can go to customize, remove the background color and just squeeze it into this space as best as you can. And then I'm just going to remove everything else. So for here, select this and uncheck this area that says major grid lines. So you have something that looks like this. If you want, you can change the individual colors for the months. So you can double click January, okay? And just click on it one more time until it opens up like this. Change the fill color. So let's use this color. Click on February, change it, March, whatever you want. And then now that everything is done, go to view, show grid lines. And here is what it looks like. Over here, I noticed there is a problem here. We don't have the categories here and it says category name here. So reopen this just in case you have the same problem. Go back to the setup tab and you can see that column F with the category name has this additional row. It's supposed to end at 28, but it ends at 29. So change this to 28, hit enter. And now it shows up the way it's supposed to. And that is the end. So going back to the tutorial checklist, I forgot to come back here, but we're able to keep on track anyway. We created a structure, added the formulas, added the charts and graphs. And then finally, I'm going to talk about my Patreon. First of all, thank you to my current Patreon subscribers. Your support goes a long way. It helps me to continue to create these types of in-depth long tutorials so you can follow step by step and create the product that works for you. Secondly, I do want to say that if you want to support me in Patreon, I'll leave the link to my Patreon down below so you can go ahead and check it out. One of the benefits of my Patreon is that you will have access to the template we created today, so you don't have to worry about putting it all together. You can get this and edit it to something else that works for you. Not only will you get this template, you'll have access to all of the templates that I have created with tutorials here on YouTube. So that is the end of this tutorial. If you found it useful, please give me a like. Leave your questions and your comments in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.